So good afternoon everyone, and my job is to give you an overview of the theme on community self-organisation for resilience. We have a stand at the back with a lot more further details, so I'll give you a few insights into what we're working on, but please come to the stand after the speeches are over and talk to us further and find out more. So in terms of our work then, we focus on the ways in which communities organise themselves to manage food and water resources. We work in the UK, in Europe and internationally. So currently we have projects and collaborations which are ongoing in Canada, the US, India and South Africa, for example, as well as in the UK. And we focus on communities because communities are places where decisions are made about how resources are used. And those decisions are made on a daily basis. And it's in communities where the impacts are often felt if resources are not used wisely. And while communities often have to make decisions about how to use resources, the processes that influence their access to resources are often outside of their control and not directly accountable to the people in communities. And so to counteract this, many communities all around the world try to organise themselves to either keep control or regain control of the resources that they depend on. So in our research, we try to engage actively with communities to look at what the community strategies are for self-organisation and to understand how those strategies emerge and how they can be sustained, often in very difficult circumstances. And so we work with communities in different contexts, including Global North and Global South. So, for example, one of our colleagues, Dr. CAWR Tornaghi, who's here and who you can look out for, has been working on urban political gardening in the Global North, but also looking at how this coalitions can be built between communities in the North and South. And CAWR has worked with a community in Leeds to co-design a public healing garden. And because of CAWR's work on urban gardening and political gardening, we're really pleased that we'll actually be hosting an international conference. There you are, I was looking for you. We'll be hosting an international conference on sustainable food planning in 2017 on behalf of the European Association of Schools of Planning. So this is really important work on urban agriculture and urban gardening, which we're leading on. And also you can see we have a photo there from another colleague, Stephanie Lemke, who's working on gender nutrition and the right to food with a focus on local food systems. And Stephanie has got a book forthcoming, and there's further information about the book published by Routledge looking at gender nutrition and the right to food. And we'll hear more about that later. So in terms of how we understand communities then, so communities are of course very complex and we understand them in the broadest sense of the word. They can be already existing and very rooted in particular places, or they can be deliberately invented. So quite a few of us have been doing work on community-supported agriculture and other types of short food chain. So, for example, the picture here shows a community-supported agriculture which is based here at Ryton, and some of our students, some of the undergraduates were helping out on this project. And in these new types of food system, communities build relationships with each other and with farmers to develop resilient alternative food systems. And communities can also be virtual or online, and some of our early career researchers are leading new research agendas on how the internet is being used to bring people together, often from quite diverse backgrounds. And Luke Owen, who's here this afternoon, and Lizzie Boss, one of our PhD students, have been publishing their research recently on this online communities which are emerging around ethical food systems. We also look at how the sustainability of the local resource base impacts upon community resilience. So an example of this is work by Dr. Alexandra Franklin, who's also here today, and she's looking at how community groups can adopt canals and waterways and actually have an active role in managing those resources, and that contributes to community resilience and also safeguarding the future of those waterways. And Alex is also publishing on this kind of place-based community management of resources, and is also developing new agendas around animal geographies and human-animal relationships within the context of resilience. And in terms of the methods that we use, so we already heard Michelle was speaking about participatory methods and transdisciplinary methods. And in our theme, we use a range of methods, but we particularly specialise on participatory research. And this can be on a spectrum from using participatory methods such as citizens' juries or other interactive methods to more of the radical tradition of participatory action research, but a common theme across this spectrum of methods is a commitment to the voice of participants and to challenging hierarchies of knowledge which prioritise certain knowledge systems over others. And we'll be hearing more about this pioneering work that's happening here at the Centre on participatory research. And one thing that we really like to highlight is our participatory video work, which is being spearheaded by Dr. Colin Anderson. And you would have seen some of Colin's work on the screens at the back, and do take a look at that work, which is really forming a distinctive angle of what we're doing at the Centre. So we recognise then that communities are very diverse, they're very complex. It's important to engage with issues around race, class, gender and cultural differences which can be expressed in communities. Communities can be exclusive as well as inclusive. They can be divided as well as cohesive, and we engage with those issues. One way that we're doing that is through local work in Coventry, where we've formed a Coventry food justice network with community groups and organisations in the city. And this is a new initiative, and we recently held a food justice walk in the city with about 40 participants to look at sites in Coventry where issues of food justice are being addressed directly. So, well, we can't really see that because it's too bright in here. Yesterday when we checked this, it was really cloudy and we could see everything. So anyway, it's what this shows, and you can see it on our poster in the back of the room, is that we have in this theme 9 different sub-themes. Now, obviously each sub-theme has lots of research questions behind it, and we haven't got time to go through all of those. But do come and talk to us, and we'll give you more details about the themes that we're developing inside this overall theme. And just to try and summarise a little bit though, the headline research questions that we're really working around are, firstly, as I started with, how do communities self-organise around water and food resources? How can that self-organisation happen in a way that promotes sustainability, resilience, health, well-being and social justice? In other words, protecting human rights and protecting the resources and a fair distribution of resources. And then thirdly, what diverse economies can develop to support community-led management of food and water at different territorial scales. Okay, so that's the end of this presentation, and thanks for listening. There are lots of papers, publications and further material available. Do come and see us, and we're very much keen to collaborate with other people around the university who are working on issues with communities and natural resources. And I'm going to pass on now to the next speaker, who's Professor Damien Lawler, who is going to talk about fundamental processes and resilience. Thanks very much.